Hey, good evening, Facebook friends. Here we go. Good evening, Facebook and YouTube friends. Thank you so much for attending. We will get started in just one moment. Flying solo this evening, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging for me to hit the chat box with any questions, but I promise you, type them in as we go along, and I will stick around as long as you have questions, but it may not be till we are wrapping up or when I'm done with the presentation that I'm able to go back and take care and answer all of your questions. So your patience is appreciated. Thank you. Okay. We'll give it just a couple of more minutes while we are waiting for the masses to pile in. If you could let me know what areas you are planning on moving to, helps me curtail some of the items this evening. I'm actually located in southeastern Michigan, so it's not uncommon for me to to attract people from all over the country. I think my last webinar, Oak Park, great. Thanks, Angie. Last webinar, I think I had Connecticut, California, and Georgia. So awfully nice the way things are spreading around the country. So if you have any friends or family in other areas of the country, the programs that I help connect people can be found across the country. So in fact, the application that I'm going to be sharing with you shortly, which gives you access to all of the programs across the country. There's actually over 2,500 of them right now. So there's really no boundaries. So it's rare that we can't identify at least 10 programs for any particular property across the country. So I tend to favor southeastern Michigan. I'm a Detroit boy, so that's where my heart is. So I always am up to date with the different programs there. And before I forget to mention it, there is chatter that the $25,000 down payment assistance program that was available for the past 2 years in the city of Detroit, there is chatter that it's going to be coming back. So as fate would have it, the past couple of years, it came back in either October or November. So if anybody is currently living in the city of Detroit, foolish not to tap into that. That's a free $25,000. You just need to live in the home for 3 years, and you get to keep all the money. And that is by far and away the best program I've ever encountered. Last go around, I think I had about a dozen people I was able to squeak in on that program. Very forgiving from a credit standpoint. So I think I got credit scores approved down to 540 on that program. So lots of money out there. There's also a lot of chatter about some of the new programs, or I should say new first-time homebuyer incentives coming into play. So very, very excited for my space and where things are heading over the foreseeable future. Before I jump into things it would have been a little over a week ago. It was actually on Labor Day that U.S. Secretary Bessent came out and actually said that there may be an executive order issued by the president basically addressing the housing crisis that's going on right now. And the housing crisis is something that I've been sounding the drums on that for quite some time, but I feel like a lot of people are priced out of the market, from taxes to interest rates to insurance. I mean, home ownership is one of those things that it's just not available for the masses the way that it used to be. So, and that's one of the reasons that motivates me, that to try to tap people into so many different programs out there. So great. Tiffany, first time buyer. Brandy, great. All right. iPhone, I think that was Tony in Detroit. Janetta, Detroit. All right. So East Point, Macomb County, Detroit, Warren, Oak Park. All right. Great. So thank you very much for sharing those areas with me. So it looks like for the most part, everybody's in my backyard, southeastern Michigan this evening. So I can kind of curtail things to that. So with that being said, with the interest of time, because I always like to have everybody out within about 50 minutes, and then I'm here to answer as many questions as you possibly have. So with that being said, I'm going to just jump right into it. So my promise is for this evening, there is no sales pitch. I am not here to sell you anything other than the possibility of us working together and me getting you the down payment assistance money or grants that are out there and get you approved for the financing. So, and my goal, I am actually a realtor, so I help you find the house. So I'm going to help you find the house, negotiate the deal, and find the money for you. So, like I said, no sales pitch here. We're going to have 5 topics we're going to cover this evening. One, a application I just developed. It actually is up to 2,500 programs and grants across the country. These are programs that will show you how, or basically give you money to purchase a home with very little money out of pocket. And when I say very little, I'm talking just a couple $1,000s. Most of these programs, you just have to have 1% of the purchase price into the transaction to be successful. So if the purchase price is $200,000, that's $2,000 out of pocket, and you can access a lot of these programs and get in with, like I said, just that little amount out of pocket. Number 2, we're going to touch on the qualifications. What does it take to get approved for a lot of these programs? They're all a little bit different, but there are some standard things with regards to credit, income, and things like that. 3, we're going to cover how do we structure these transactions so you get in with just a couple $1,000s out of pocket, how to find quality homes in the area, and how to get free quality experience representation. I find that the hardest thing is tying yourself with experience to get these deals across the finish line. It's not rocket science, but if you don't know, you don't know. And without fail, there's always little things that pop up, usually not big deals. We're not going to get anybody down that path unless the chance of likelihood is in excess of 90% that they're going to come through. So I always tell people, follow my steps, and I can get you there regardless of what your credit situation is. Now, if any of you are doubting yourselves with regards to credit, I do teach a credit repair and credit building webinar, and I'll get you a link to, I'll put a link to that in the chat box right now. So this webinar is how to get your credit scores up 60 points in 60 days. I teach you about what goes into a credit score, what do they look for in the mortgage world, and how we can manipulate those scores to get a quick spike. There's a lot of tools out there at our disposal to get quick spikes for people. So I always say, never, ever let credit hold you back. So now, before I get going, I just like to share success stories with you along the way to try and give you a feel for some of the people that I've been able to help over the past few months. This is actually one of my favorite people. Emily purchased this home actually probably about 6 months ago, but she's one of my favorites, so I keep her up here. Emily is the lady that just would not be denied. She willed everything across the finish line. She picked just a really nice house on Freeland in Detroit, and it was actually not an estate, but the previous owner was going into a retirement community and had a reverse mortgage. So it took a little bit longer because on the reverse mortgage, the owner owed more than they were actually selling the house for. So we had to negotiate that part down. So it was a rather cumbersome process, but it was the house she wanted. And the the outside really doesn't do it justice. It's actually, the inside of the house. Let me just see if they still have this live here, just to kind of give you a feel for it. This house was so well maintained inside. I mean, the carpet was great, had a fireplace, great hardwood floors underneath. The kitchen was relatively new. It wasn't original, that's for sure. It was not an estate sale, but she was moving to, like I said, a retirement community. So you can see that they were preparing for an estate sale. But what I really liked about this house was the roof was in good shape. And more importantly, it was a basement that never had a lick of water in it. And you'll see that in just a moment. Let me get to that. If you could look in the basement, the carpet down there, it's almost unheard of. I've been doing business in southeastern Michigan for, since 1987. So probably 35, 7, 8 years, whatever the math is there. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've seen a basement without any water in it at all over the course of time. And this one was it. So I actually had a full basement in it. So was very, very happy for Emily. She's still one of my favorite customers. She actually qualified for all the money too. So she qualified for a $25,000 grant, the Detroit grant I was just talking about a few minutes ago. She was able to piggyback that grant with a 3% down payment gift program, a $5,000 credit or closing cost credit grant, and a $500 appraisal. So all in, she was able to get $33,000 towards the purchase of this house, and the purchase price was $117,000. So she got a really good price on it after we negotiated with the reverse mortgage company, but it worked out quite well. She only needed $500 deposit when we got it under contract, and then $200 at closing. So for $700, she was able to get into this house. So just so happy for her. She was one of those ladies, like I said, would not be denied. She willed it across the finish line. And for those reasons, she's like one of my favorite people. Now, for those of you who is tonight designed for, it's for people that are just tired of renting, okay? And I know that's the vast majority of people. It's pretty disheartening what's going on in the rental world. Nothing encouraging. The average 2-bedroom apartment where I am in southeastern Michigan is actually $1,350 a month, and that's not getting anything fancy. So I will tell you right now, $1,300 is buying about a $150,000 house easily on a lot of these programs, with just a couple $1,000s out of pocket. So now I know people have heard a lot of promises out there, and I'm not here to give you empty promises. I'm going to give you a lot of substantial information this evening that's going to back up a lot of the things that I say. So we're going to go over some of those success stories. There's nothing magical here. The numbers speak for themselves. The programs are out there. But it does take a little bit of work, okay? So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Things can sometimes get a little bumpy, but just the same, I am not going to take you down that road unless the chance of success is significant, okay? And I always tell people, imagine if you just qualify for these programs and you're able to get in and get those low payments. So it's not uncommon right now, especially if you happen to have a city address with that money that's coming down the pike, $150,000 house. Imagine $20,000 of that 25 could go to your down payment. We're talking payments about $1,100 a month for a nice $150,000 house because the down payment is so significant when we tap into that $25,000 program that's coming down the pike. So now, one question I have, just to keep everybody awake out there. Imagine if you did qualify for these and you never had to move again, because if you're renting, chances are you're going to have to move. But in the chat box, if you could please let me know what you think, not necessarily yourself, but what do you think holds most people back? Just a survey. Do you think it's money? Do you think it's credit? Do you think it's your income? Just put in the chat box. Let me know what you think. I'm going to give you the answer to that in just a second because it surprises most people. So here's a success story. This person just closed. Nate purchased this house in White Lake Township. Okay. He actually used a brand new program that was a solar program. Now, what they did is the program actually paid his down payment, which was about $13,000, and it gives him a tax credit for the solar system of about $10,000. So what they do is they actually put a solar system on that's going to manage his electric bills. So I'd be surprised if he even gets an electric bill in the future. It's a newer program, just a great way for people that are looking for a little bit higher sale price program that doesn't have any income restrictions. And it only requires credit scores to be above a 580. So very, very happy for Nate. He actually just closed on this one on Friday. The next person, Kenneth. Kenneth hasn't closed yet, but he is in line and should be closing by next week. Now, he actually qualified for a $10,000 down payment assistance program through the state of Michigan. So he originally got hooked up with me in his barber. He was actually sitting in his barber's chair, and he was telling his barber how the person he was talking to was kind of forcing him to buy this house, or at least he felt that way. And his barber actually got on the phone and said, "You got to talk to this guy," called me while he was in this chair and shared the situation. I actually took him out the next day. The house in the lower right-hand corner was the house that they were talking about. It doesn't look bad on the outside, but the inside was rough. Okay. And I will tell you, the neighborhood was, let's put it this way, the neighborhood was in Brightmoor. If any of you know the Detroit area, I actually grew up in Brightmoor on the same street on Lamphere. So it gets a little tough. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. So, but we were able to find him a house closer over to 7 Mile Greenfield area, and that's the one that you see him standing on the porch on right now. So he's got this one under contract for $95,000, and he's not going to have to bring any money to closing. So he put down a $750 deposit, paid $250 for a home inspection, and that's it. He only needs 1% or $1,000 out of pocket. Everything else is going to be covered for him. So very, very happy for Kenneth. Here's another one. Shannon actually purchased this one on Wyoming, and Shannon actually works at the Kroger right at 8 in Wyoming. So she was referred to me by a couple of people that work there that I've sold houses to that were able to tap into these down payment assistance programs. So, so needless to say, the Kroger at 8 Mile, Wyoming, I'm very happy to meet everybody there. So anyways, Shannon was able to purchase this house for $117,000. She only needed a couple of $1,000s at closing. Now, she did not tap into money. She tapped into a zero down grant program through Flagstar Bank where you don't need any money down. We were able to negotiate and get the seller to pay a lot of the closing costs. Okay, so no money on this one, but there's no mortgage insurance, so it's going to keep her payments very low. In fact, it's lower than what she was paying in her rent. I think it was $8 something a month is where it ended up being. So very, very happy for Shannon. So anyways, my goal for you this evening. Well, before I do that, let me get into my why. People ask me, why do I do these programs? Why do I enjoy doing them so much? And, just not to bore you with my resume, but to just give you a feel for why I do this. I spent, over 25 years in the mortgage world. That's how I learned to tap into a lot of these programs. That's how I'm comfortable negotiating, structuring these deals for people to get in with very little money out of pocket and helping people tackle the credit side of it. But the main reason for me was I was always that person that had to be, top on the sales board in the mortgage world and this and that. And actually went out, opened my own mortgage company with another gentleman, and it was nice. And from there, we opened a title insurance company. Life was good. And then one day, I actually had someone come to me and say, "Hey, why are these checks going through this unique bank?" It was actually Lakeshore Bank out in Macomb County. And next thing I know, we discover somebody's embezzling money. An absolute catastrophe. So anyways, it was a rabbit hole. It was just one of the worst times in my life. We had to unwind that whole thing. And fortunately, everybody settled for what they owed. But it was just a very, very painful 2-year process, making sure that everybody was made whole. But after that company closed, I was happy that at least I had the mortgage company, or so I thought. Then a couple years later, when the mortgage meltdown happened and Chase shut down our credit facility, bam, there went that business. So having 4 young kids at home at the time, back then I was probably in my, probably around 40 then, maybe 45. So back then I still had to go out and make a living. So went over to the automobile finance world and didn't really enjoy it there. But after going through what would have been a bankruptcy and a foreclosure for those businesses, because they went down hard, and I had to make everybody whole, which I was happy to do. But it was really a life lesson. And during that process, I actually learned that I was just a guy chasing numbers, and that really wasn't who I was. And after spending a couple years after that, cleaning myself up, getting my credit back on track, I realized that it wasn't really, chasing these numbers wasn't really me. And I actually, after getting my credit built back up, we went to go apply for a mortgage. And I actually, at that time, qualified for down payment assistance money. And at the 11th hour, right before we were about to close, the loan officer told me that he didn't apply for it because he said we didn't need it, that I had a couple $1,000s in savings. And it was actually my wife's savings from her retirement account. But be that as it may, it wasn't a lot. It was about $8,000. And at the time, it was a lot to me. Heck, that was all we had left. But we wanted the house badly, so we took the money and we used it as a down payment, and we bought the house. And I'm very happy that we did it. We still live there, just as happy as we can be there. But at that time, that's when the switch went on. I was really irked. I was, somebody to make a decision like that for someone. And I realized, what? Loan officers do that on a routine basis. These programs that I'm going to connect you with tonight, they've been around for years. And myself, back then, I have to admit, I was like a lot of loan officers, just lazy. These programs don't take a lot of paperwork. It's just one more form, one more submission, one more step, and people can tap into this money. So after we bought the house, I realized that is, what, I'm going to get back into real estate, and that's my calling. And that's about 15 years ago, and I have been I'm the happiest man I've ever been, just for the fact that now I get to help people all day, helping them with their credit, get into these programs, change everybody else's dreams. So to me, that is the true gift. So people ask why I do this, and that is the truth of the matter. I just love helping. So with that being said, that's why I do what I do. So when people schedule calls with me, and here, I'm going to give you a link to my calendar right now. Regardless of your situation, I want people to schedule calls with me so I can learn your situation, put myself in your shoes. And if we need to work on your credit, hey, I'm here to do that. If I need to coach you on other sides, hey, here to do it. I'm happy to do it. Okay. And by going forward with this mindset, it's amazing how many people gravitate to me, how many referrals I get. And to me, that is the biggest gift of all. Now, to answer the question, to go back, what was the main reason? What holds people back, or what do they think holds them back? Actually, love some of these answers here. Credit, income, absolutely, Lakeisha. Those are always the two biggest answers. Credit, money, knowledge. Knowledge, you know what? Powerful. Lakeisha, love that one. Credit, money by Angie. Credit, income, Jeanette. Melinda, credit and down payment. Sure. Money, income, fear of repairs. Wow, Tiffany. Powerful statement there. And I'm glad you said that, because I am all about quality houses. You're going to hear me talk about that a lot this evening, because there are too many people in my industry that just want to put people in houses, okay? I'm not about lipstick, and there's a lot of cats out there just putting lipstick on houses. So I'm all about the bones. I want a good roof, dry basement, predictable mechanicals, and good foundation. When we get those things, good things happen. I'm not worried about paint. I'm not worried about cosmetic things. So that's a good response. Natalie, credit, money and credit score, debt and income, combination of all. Dimitri, you're right there. Credit, income, lack of knowledge. Do you have a 2-year consistent income? You do. Good question, because a lot of people think you do need that. You don't need 2 years of consistent income. You can have breaks in your income. They just have to prove 2 years. So if you were laid off for a year, they'll just get 3 years. Whatever the time is before and whatever the time is after. Okay. So the big reason is confidence. Oddly enough, I find that we get trapped up in our own mind. Remember when I shared my story with you? Heck, I'd been in the mortgage world for 25 years and then went to go buy a house. And you know what? When my wife and I were buying that house, and after I rebuilt my credit, my mind got in the way of things. Did I qualify on paper? Yes. Were my credit scores there? Yes. Was the income and stuff there? Yes. But still, there were those seeds of doubt. There was no sense of entitlement because my mind was in a bad space because I felt that since I had a bankruptcy, that somebody was magically going to come out and say, no, that's not how it works. And it ended up working out for us. Now, for me, it took 3 years to buy a house after a bankruptcy because I had a foreclosure on there. When my house of cards, it was a house of cards. When it went down, I lost my house too. Okay. So when it comes to, that's why I tell people, when it comes to rebuilding credit, I know what to do. And I'll tell you, 15 years ago, it was a heck of a lot harder to rebuild credit than it is today. There's so many tools out there that I go over on my credit repair webinar. Never let credit hold you back. I love helping people on that side, especially because there's no shortage of people out there charging crazy amounts of money to fix credit when you can do it yourself. Okay. There are a lot of tools at your fingertips to do it. And there are a lot of things that you don't want to do. So if you need that help, please reach out to me, tap into my credit repair webinars. But the number one thing for me, or what I found with people, is confidence. Okay. If you have the confidence to get things done and are willing to follow me, I'm happy to lead you anywhere with regards to credit or getting approved for a loan. I don't do loans now. What I do is I like to learn your situation, put myself in your shoes, and then first and foremost, we want to find out who's offering the most money from down payment assistance and grants. And then from there, I want to connect you with a lender based on what your criteria is. And usually I want to go with a lender that's going to give you a couple of options. And the reason I want a couple of options are, if we get tripped up on one, I want a plan B. Okay. The last thing I want to do is get you excited to purchase a house, or even worse, your family excited. I always tell people, you can get me excited all day. Okay. Pull the rug out on me. I've had it happen, whatever. I'm a big boy. I can deal with it, but don't get my family excited for a move and then pull the rug out. That to me is the worst. Okay. So for that reason, I always like to have a couple of backup plans there. So like I said, knowledge and knowledge is the key here, and a couple of people mentioned that, so thank you very much. So I always tell people, please schedule a strategy call with me. I will tell you exactly where you stand, what you need to do. I'm never going to tell you no. It may not be today, but I'm going to give you the tools and the path to get there tomorrow. Whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, doesn't matter. In fact, this webinar is for people that have probably found me on Facebook, but I do webinars throughout the month that you'll be invited to for people that have signed up and watched other webinars. I get people that come back to my webinars 2, 3, 4 times. And if any of those people are on here, if you've been with me a couple of times, please let me know. But if you go on one of my other webinars, when I do it for people that have been, for the masses, I get people that have been following me 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the reason that is, life gets in the way of our plans. I totally understand that, and I get it. It gets in the way of my plans all the time. All we can do is pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and just keep moving forward. Okay? So now, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, doesn't matter to me. I also this evening, I want to dispel some common beliefs. You don't need money. The money, oddly enough, is the easiest part for me with all of the programs I'm about to expose you to. You don't need to have good credit, okay? Right now, good credit is defined as, like, in my mind, 650 or higher. I've got programs that'll go all the way down to a 580 credit score. And that one program that I was talking about earlier, the city program, that's going to go down to probably a 540. And there are other programs out there too. So if you need a quick spike in your score, reach out to me. Happy to coach you on that side too. The other thing is fixed income. Without fail, I get a couple of people a month that I work with that feel that they can't buy a house because they're on a fixed income. Not the case. There are a couple people here. Kenneth, fixed income, Social Security. Let me give you another one here. Emily, she was on a fixed income, Social Security. So we have ways to get things done on fixed incomes. I just need to know your story so I can best posture you to get approved on those types of programs with a fixed income, that is. Okay, so I routinely help people purchase homes and achieve their buying goals. So like I said, I love what I do. My only ask for you this evening is just a couple of things. If you could please go out to my YouTube channel, I'm going to put that right here, and follow me, okay? And on Facebook, let me give you my Facebook page. Where is that? Right here. Now, if you ever want to see any of my replays, I stream these webinars on YouTube and on Facebook. Just go to Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and just click on those areas, and you'll see all the webinars that I've done over the past year. I've been doing these webinars for probably about 3 years now. Before that, I used to actually talk to people one-on-one, the same conversation 10, 15 times a day. Thank God I found these webinars. So easy to talk to the masses, and more importantly, so easy for me to give educational content to people that are shy. I mean, sometimes people don't like to be outspoken on these webinars, and it gives them a chance to digest things, maybe do a little research. Make sure I'm legit. I get that. We're kind of in a scam world now. Half of the phone calls I get say scam on them nowadays. So I get that. So do your homework. Look me up. You'll see I've been doing this a while. And then, so with that being said, here's one more story. Another one that I really like. This one was Tashiana. She actually got approved for that $25,000 in the city of Detroit last year. So she purchased this home on Rosemont for $123,000. And one thing I can tell you is when I met her, she wasn't planning on buying a house. Furthest thing from her mind. She didn't, I don't think she would mind me sharing this. She just wasn't ready for it from a financial standpoint. And I'm all about that. I always tell people, do not let the money hold you back. So I realize when people find me, they're not really thinking about buying a house until I show them they can. So it's never extra in my house. So I assume a lot of houses are that way. So we were able to structure a deal with her where we only needed $500 out of pocket up front. And then at closing, she needed $1,000. And the closing for her was, maybe a couple of months later. So there's a lot of ways to get things done. Now for her, we did $20,000 out of the 25 went to her down payment, and then $5,000 went to her closing costs. And gosh, I think her payment came in like $800 to $900 a month. So happy for her. Just great people I get to work with and I get to meet along the way. All right. So with that being said, I want to kick things off and start getting you into the meat and potatoes tonight. Number one, I want to talk about how do we access these programs. Okay. But before I do that, I want to describe the difference between some of the programs. There are down payment assistance programs and there are grants, okay? Now, down payment assistance programs typically have some type of repayment component to it. About half of them need to be repaid. So now, they might be forgivable after 3 years, but sometimes they have that repayment. So, for example, state of Michigan, they give you $10,000 right now when you sell the house, whether it's 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, that's when you repay the state, the $10,000. Some of the other programs, down payment assistance, you just buy it, get the money, own the house for 3 years, and then they forgive the loan. But grant money, on the other hand, that's free. The day of closing, you get cash, get to keep that money. Okay. You don't get, it doesn't go in your pocket, but it goes into your house. Okay. So we always want to try to tap into grants first. Now, here is a link to my down payment application. Okay. And you can actually get this on the Google Play and Apple Store. Okay. So if you just go right out to Google Play Store or the Apple Store and download, just type in no down payment, you're going to see this app pop up. And when it pops up, it's going to look just like this. I think. There it is. So it's going to say down payment money is out there. Okay. All you have to do is put in an address. Okay. Here's the address. I grew up at 16801 Lamphere in Detroit. 48219. Qualifies for 18 programs. All you got to do is hit the Get Details button and you will be emailed a list instantly. If anybody has any addresses they'd like me to run right now, the first 1-2 people, I will run those addresses right online right now. But I'm going to give you a feel for what you're going to get in that email. Here, I'll put in my stuff here and let's see what we can do. And I'm going to get a list of all of the down payment programs. Okay, here we go. Here, this house on Lamphere, 18 programs up to $25,000 right now. 10,000, 10,000, 25, 5%, 5%, 20,000. Faith in Girls Home Buying Program. Haven't done that one yet, but it's been out a little while. National Faith, Second Mortgage, City of Detroit. Oh, that one's out of money. Okay. So, but anyways, 20,000 there. 20 Federal Home Loan is offering 20%. So if it's a $100,000 house, that's $20,000 to go towards the purchase price. So this is the email that you will get, and it's going to tell you the biggest amount too. Okay. Let's see. Any addresses out there that anybody's typed in? Okay. So make sure you go out to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, and you're just going to type in the name of the app, No Down Payment. Just that easy. Now, when you download that app, any of the information that you provide, it's going to come directly to me. This is not data that's sold. This is actually my application that we just spent 2 months putting together. So very, very happy. I'm hoping that this is going to make things a lot easier for people. Okay, Nettie, let's see what we've got here. Nettie's got an address for us. Let's try this. 48204. Hey, that's an East Side number if I've ever seen one. All right. 9. Okay. Copy. I do need to get the zip code in order to run these. Burnett. And 18 programs. So this is going to be the same 18 programs for the one that I ran on Lamphere a moment ago. So thanks, Nettie. Appreciate that. So, hey, Paulette, good. You got the address and the zip code. I'll run this one too, and then we'll move on. Everybody else, if you like, I'll be happy to stick around as long as you want, and we can run as many of these as you like. But you can do it on your own. Just download the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Okay, again, the same 18. Now, I find that you're going to find for Detroit, most of the programs, most of them are going to come back with 18 programs, unless if you start going into some of the empowerment zones, boom, it spikes right up. All right, Angela, I'm going to do one more here for Angela, and then we're going to move on. All right, Elmira. And I think this is going to be okay, yeah, we're back to 18. So, you know, here, oh, here's one. Let's try this Oak Park. I will do this one, Angie. Just because we've spent, let's jump into, whoops, we'll jump into Oakland County a little bit. Okay, looks like 12 for Oak Park. Let's see what we qualify for there. And Audrey, excellent question. So these grants and DPAs are more, no, they're not. They're all over. Okay, so look at this. This one's at Oak Park, 12 programs, $25,000. Okay, so I mean, I actually ran one in Northville yesterday that had 8 programs. So don't think that this doesn't work on other areas as well too. It just depends on what your personal criteria is. So right now, this property in Oak Park qualifies for 12 programs up to $25,000. Okay, so lots of programs. Like I said, these work all over the country. So if you have any friends or family members, I did one in Miami a couple of days ago, $200,000 available in Miami. New York had 3, I thought was 260 was the max, and then I hit a 261 in Brooklyn, oddly enough, the other day. And then let's see some other areas. Oh, Los Angeles, $161,000 in down payment assistance program. So the amount of money out there is just absolutely insane. So if you have any friends or family members, please pass the app along. Just go out to the Google Play Store, Apple Store, and type in no down payment, and you'll be able to get the app for that. Okay. Yes, great. Glad you like it. Glad you're excited about it. Okay, so next, where am I here? Okay, so the next thing we want to touch on, qualifications. What does it take to get approved for a lot of these programs? Well, a lot of these programs, well, not a lot of them, but just the mortgage industry in general, there's several key areas. We've got your income, your credit, your assets, and the property being the collateral. Those are the things that you can control, okay? So we've got to have the income. Okay, they don't want to see more than roughly 45% of your income going to your house payment and your overall debts. Okay, so let's say, for example, you've got an income of, let's say, $4,000 a month. 45% of $4,000 is $1,800. Okay, so they don't want to see any more than $1,800 a month going to the bills on your credit report and your house payment. So if it's $1,800, and let's say we subtract $400 for an auto loan, maybe another $100 for credit cards, that leaves $1,300 left over. In my mind, $1,300 right now is buying about a $150,000 house. Okay, so when it comes to your income, they do want to see 2 years of work history. Now, if you have some periods or breaks in that chain, that's fine. Someone earlier was asking that you needed 2 years consistent. It doesn't have to be consistent. Okay. So if you were laid off for a month or two, fine. We just need to have, instead of 2 months or 24 months, we need 26 months of income, or to cover a 26 pay periods. Okay. So that's how it works. We just need to cover 2 years of income for typically FHA. Conventional loans are a little bit different. I don't want to go into the details on that, but don't think that you're going to be handcuffed to 2 years. As long as you've been working consistently, if you've got a short or brief layoff period, we can usually work around that. Now, they will need your W-2s, and in many cases, they're going to need your tax returns, okay? Now, if you're self-employed or 1099 income, which is, we consider that the same as being self-employed, we're going to need your tax returns, okay? So that's what they look for on the income side. As far as credit, whoops, sorry to do that to you. So the credit tends to go in tiers, okay? Right now, the most lenient down payment assistance programs I work with are a 580 credit score, okay? Don't have a ton of them, but there are a few. So anybody looking in Wayne County, there's a Wayne County program that still has some money hanging on there. So that will go down to 580. That'll get you just under $14,000 right now. 620 tends to be the next threshold, then 640, then 680. So the higher your credit scores are, the more we can do for you, the more options that we have, okay? But like I said earlier, if your credit scores are in the mid 500s, just go to one of my credit repair webinars, okay? I'll walk you through everything that they look at in the mortgage world as it relates to credit, give you some quick fixes, give you some credit building tools. And if you need that personal coaching, happy to do it. I mean, a lot of times it's very easy. Most of the time it just takes time. But it's really not too challenging for me to get someone's credit score up 60 points in 60 days. That's really where my credit webinar is focused on. Okay. Especially if you have credit cards that are maxed out. Those are very easy, quick fixes in my book. Okay. So the big things that they look for in credit is they don't want to see recent late payments. Recent late payments and collections can derail things, okay? But give me a call. Happy to walk through those with you and map out a plan. So again, here, let me give you the link to my credit repair webinar, since I have that on my slide here. And that always tends to be one of the number one things people ask for. Good. Someone's asking right now, couple questions. I was late. Okay, will the recording be? Yes, I do have recordings that will be available. Actually, I'm streaming this to YouTube Live, Facebook Live, so you can always go out to YouTube and catch the recording. Okay. Had a question here. Someone's asking, I have a 610 credit score, but inconsistency on the reports. Okay, so depending upon what's dragging that 610 down, I actually have a zero down grant program through Flagstar Bank that only requires a 600 credit score. And the crazy part is no mortgage insurance. It's one of those programs that's almost too good to be true. Okay, they call it Destination Home. Love it. They love hitting some of the underserved communities with that program. There are some income restrictions, so schedule a call with me, and happy to go over your personal situation and see if there's a fit there. Okay, assets. So I always tell people, if you can have $2,000 to $3,000, that's ideal. $2,000 to $3,000, very easy for me to get things done. If you don't have that type of savings right now, just let me know where you are. Like I shared with you earlier, it's not uncommon for me to catch people off guard, but I'll work with your budget, okay? It's not uncommon for me to get whatever, a couple $100 when we get an offer signed, maybe pay for an appraisal, and we can get the balance at closing. So if you can put together, $1,500, $2,000 over a couple of month period, bam, we can usually get you done, okay? Now, with regards to the rest of the money, that's my job. I'll find you the down payment assistance programs and grants. I will structure the deals so you can get in with very little money out of pocket. Now, the properties do need to be in good, habitable condition. Okay, and what I mean by that is it's got to have a functioning kitchen, functioning bathrooms, Every now and then I run across a house that maybe the furnace isn't there, water heater. We'll get those installed before closing, so don't worry about that. We're used to that. But it can't have, it's got to be something that you can move into on day one. The bank's going to send an appraiser out there. If the appraiser doesn't say that that house is habitable, you've wasted time, and more importantly, you've wasted money on an appraisal. And, the older I get, hate to sound like the old guy, but I don't like wasting money. That's the one thing. The older I get, I detest waste. So anyways, we want to find houses that are in good, habitable condition. So that's it. When it comes to income, credit, assets, and property, it's just that simple. Now, how do I structure these transactions so you can get in with just a couple $1,000s? Well, let's just use this fictitious house. Say the purchase price is $150,000. Your closing costs are lately, they're about $7,000 is what it's going to run between your taxes, your closing costs, your homeowner's insurance, and title insurance. Okay. So if you find a house that's $150,000, your down payment is probably going to be about $5,000. Your closing costs would be about $7,000. That's $12,000 right there. If your down payment, the down payment assistance is giving you $10,000, that means we only need to wrestle with $2,000 between now and the time of closing. Just that easy. Now, the payments typically on those are going to come in around the $1,300 mark. Okay. Everything's a little bit different. There are ways for us to sharpen the pencil because all the numbers, they can change a little bit from house to house. Taxes can be higher. Homeowners insurance is a variable that's kind of catching a lot of people off guard lately. We can always deal with those, but we just have to build that in. Okay, so that's how I typically structure a transaction. Now, when it comes to finding homes, I was told to go out to my website. If you're in southeastern Michigan, this is where we want to go. This is a direct link from the realtor.com website. Okay, mycitysearch.com. This is my personal website. Okay, so again, your data is not sold. You can go out there. It's just, I have this website as a service. I really don't monitor it nearly as much as I should, even though I get 20 to 30 people a day on it using it. I just want to give people a safe space where they can go to and not get peppered with a bunch of real estate agents or mortgage people. You go out to Zillow, press a button. I guarantee you your data is being sold everywhere. That's what they do. They harvest your data and sell it to real estate agents. Okay. So try to avoid that if you can. There's enough people blowing up your phones nowadays with things. You don't need that. So go out to the website, mycitysearch.com. Now, I always tell people this should be your first step. I know that sounds odd, but I find the quicker people get in tune with where the prices are, the more educated you are, the more knowledge you have. And when we find a house that strikes a chord with you, you'll know value when you see it and you won't hesitate. You'll just jump right on it. Okay. So I always tell people, try to focus on that older inventory, the homes that have been on the market for a few weeks. And the reason being, southeastern Michigan, the rental market's still in such tough shape that it's translating to a really tough buyer's market still. But if you focus on the properties that have been on the market 2 to 3 weeks, you're catching deals that are falling apart. Maybe the home didn't appraise. Maybe the home inspection wasn't where we thought it should be. Maybe the taxes were too high. Maybe there's some deferred maintenance that the home inspection didn't catch up. Lots of reasons deals fall apart. But what I find, if a home has been on the market 2 or 3 weeks or a deal that's fallen apart, we've got sellers that are more realistic expectations. Okay. Now the sellers overpriced it and they might be chasing the market a little bit. Okay. So for those reasons, I like going after some of those older inventory. I find the sellers are a lot more flexible. Now, when you're on the websites and you're looking at the houses, I want you to start thinking a little bit more like an investor. And what I mean by that, investors look at the quality of the house. So when I walk up to a house, first thing I'm looking at is, what is the roof like? Does it have some life in it? Is it a 3-tab shingle or an architectural shingle? Tells me how much life is left in it. Are there any deferred maintenance on the outside, paint peeling, stuff like that? What is the base of the house look like? For the foundation, how does that look? As you look through the photos, check those things out. When you're in the rooms, look at the ceilings. A lot of times people don't look at the ceilings. You can see if there's a stain on the ceiling, hey, there might have been roof issues, okay? Look at the floors. Are the floors clean or are they stained? Or is it in the basement? Do you see rings around the basement where there's routine water, okay? The basement, in my mind, that's what tells the story in a house. Anytime I go in, I look at the basement. Is electrical updated? The mechanical's in shape? Does it routinely get water in it? There's a lot of things the basement tells. Are the floors sagging, dipping, whatever? There's a lot of things to look at in the house beyond the cosmetic things. Now, don't get me wrong. I like things to be nice just like everybody else. But the lipstick, what people are doing to houses for flips right now is almost criminal. Okay. So I always tell people, go for a house that's got good, solid bones and is predictable versus trying to fall for the lipstick. Okay. All right. And the last thing I want to talk about here, experience is what gets these deals across the finish line. Okay. I will tell you, most of the loan officers that I work with, they work with me because I'm experienced. Okay. New agents have a really hard time getting these types of deals across the finish line because there's some quirks to it. There are things that we want to head off before it becomes an issue, whether it's the quality of the house, the condition of the house. Maybe somebody says something to me that kind of tips, hey, that might be a problem later. We might want to discuss it now. Okay. I would rather, if there's going to be something that's going to trip us up, I want to find out about it in the beginning before you and your family get mentally and financially invested in buying a house. Okay. So don't let someone be your learning partner. If you are talking to a lender, make sure this lender's done these programs routinely. Okay. Not just, oh yes, so I've done a lot of them. Hey, can I talk to some of your customers that you've actually closed some of these deals with? I guarantee you that's going to vet out a lot of people right there. Okay. So if you do reach out through my app and see some of the lenders there, do me a favor and let me make some introductions for you. And I can't stress this enough because without fail, a couple times a month, I get people to call and say, hey, John, I saw that Bank of America was given $17,000. I went and applied there. And now I can't get a return phone call. I can't get any cooperation. I have to submit paperwork 3-4 times. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of these companies employ hundreds, if not thousands of loan officers. If you go direct to those lenders, there are financial privacy laws in place where they won't talk to me if they don't know me. If they know me, most loan officers will talk to me because collaborative, we can work together to get the deal across the finish line. So let me make that introduction for you so I can, first of all, share your story, okay? Share your qualifications, make sure that line of communication is consistently open. And if for any reason you do get silence or don't get the answers that you were promised, I can hold people accountable. Okay. Doesn't happen very often, but a lot of times, hey, people get busy and don't return phone calls. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't really tolerate that, but it does happen. So with that being said, accountability for me is huge. So now for me, obviously, I'm a realtor. Okay. My job, I'm here to help you identify all the programs that are out there. Okay. And find the best one that's available for which home you land on. From there, I'm going to help you structure these transactions so you can get in with as very little money out of pocket. And I'm all about that. I'd rather keep as much money in your pocket as possible to make that move as pleasurable as possible. Who knows? Maybe you want to do some repairs when you get in. Even more reason to keep some of those funds in your pocket. Okay. I'm also going to help you negotiate the most favorable contract terms and help you navigate the process all the way to your final mortgage approval. And most importantly, I pride myself in keeping your final numbers in alignment. Okay. I've been doing this long enough where I'll get closing numbers from a loan officer. You tell me what your closing costs are, and I can tell you within $1,000 where your numbers are going to be at the time of closing. Okay. it's not uncommon for me to actually write it down on a piece of paper. Heck, I used to do this right on the hood of people's cars and say, hey, what did the loan officer tell you? You know what? That's exactly right. This is how it's going to work out, and I'll sketch it right out, hand it. And if those numbers don't come in, let me know. Doesn't happen often, but maybe once or twice a year out of the, whatever, 40 or 50 transactions we might do, I might have to help somebody sharpen those numbers. And maybe once a year, I might have to give up on my side because things don't line up the way they should. But hey, that's just the way it is. I enjoy giving people clarity when it comes to numbers because that's sometimes the biggest concern. Okay, now to recap things. We went over how do we access actually 2,500 programs. We went over the qualifications of what it takes to get approved for these programs, how we structure the deals to get in with just a couple of $1,000s, and how to find quality homes, okay? In addition, how to get good quality representation for free. So reach out to me. I'm always happy to point you in any of those directions. So first and foremost, here we go, that no down payment app. Do me a favor, download that, try it out, share it with as many people as you possibly can. We're really trying to get some traction on that. I want this to be a tool that's used by the masses. There's no reason that any first-time home buyer, regardless of your income, should not be tapping into free money if it's on the table. Okay, next thing, my credit repair webinar. I've given you that link a couple of times. If anybody needs that, let me know. And with that being said, I'm going to start opening things up for questions. Start typing some questions in that chat box as I give you my final thoughts here. So hopefully I've given you enough of a lift where you feel confident enough where you can at the very least, schedule a call with me. Let me give you this. Oh, I see that I'm paste. Here is a link to my book. Brandy, hey, how are you? Sorry, I didn't see your hand there, Brandy. What kind of questions did you have? I'm doing well. Oh, JC, that's what my brother-in-law's call me. Nice. Thank you. I'm honored. Sure. Which one would you like? You're welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Hope you have a good evening. So, any other questions out there? So, like I said, please don't hesitate. Book a call with me. If not for anything else, just let me get some notes so we can just kick a relationship off and figure out a path. Like I said, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, doesn't matter to me. I'm here for the duration. I hope you can realize, at least through the screen, that I'm very passionate what I do. I actually love what I do. Once I realized that this was my calling, it's been an absolute gift for me. Tamiko, land contracts, there aren't as many land contracts out there as there once were. And it's just hard to find land contracts that are quality with less than maybe 10,000. So I always tell people, most people that are asking about land contracts, they might have been just gone through maybe some life-altering events from a credit standpoint, and they can't get into it. So I find that some of the land contracts, they are out there, and I don't want to discount them because I do a couple land contracts a year. I guess what I'd like to do is schedule a call with me so we can find out where your budget is. Land contracts are driven by the down payment, okay? And right now, I will tell you, anything that's less than $10,000 down isn't habitable. And if it's less than $5,000, I'm going to tell you it's not worth it. Most of those houses are people that bought blocks of them and now they're just turning around trying to sell them as land contracts, and you make payments to them. It's just, they're not recipes for success, okay? There are a couple of large portfolio landowners that are selling houses on land contract in Detroit and the surrounding Detroit area, but they require a $10,000 down payment. Okay. There are only a couple. Okay. And it's very easy for me to do that search. I just have to search by $10,000 down payments, and then they'll typically have anywhere from 5 to 10 houses for sale at any given time. Okay. So reach out to me and I'll do that search for you and send you that list. Here's a question. Are there any frames to schedule a call? I work from 8 a.m. to 4:30. Oh, you can always schedule it after it. I'll tell you what, Nettie, here, we've only got about 15 online right now. So I'm going to give you my cell phone number, 248-252-7283. There you go. You can reach me directly. Now, keep in mind, I am a glorified phone jockey. My wife calls me a chatty Cathy. I'm on the phone all day. I get that. But I do get a lot of people that book calls that can't make it for whatever reason. Life gets in the way. I understand that. So if you want to text me, okay, I'll be happy to call you in between some of my calls. And who knows, if I'm available, I'll call you back right away. Okay. I much rather deal with calls as they come in, because my pet peeve is I've got to have all my phone calls returned by the end of the day. It just bugs me because I know what it's like making phone calls and not getting them returned. I don't like it. So next question. Oh, thank you so much, Angie. Glad you enjoyed it this evening. You can call me anytime. You have my cell phone number now. Can you do me a favor? I've got a couple of calls that I have to make after our webinar this evening. So best thing is shoot me a text what times you're available, and I'll schedule it and we'll get it down for tomorrow. Do we do manufactured homes? Okay, so manufactured homes, if they are on land, can sometimes be done, but they're not easy. Manufactured homes are held to a different standard. So if they are in a mobile home or manufactured home community where you rent the lots, can't do them. Okay. And I always caution people against those because the resale, they don't tend to go up in value. In fact, they go down in value. And unfortunately, the manufactured home communities in Michigan has kind of been turned upside down over the past 5 years. I find that what were a bunch of mom and pop manufactured home complexes have been sold off to a lot of, publicly traded companies, and what they're charging for lots, water, it's criminal. Okay. I do not recommend those types of communities, especially with some of the down payment assistance programs and grants that I help connect people with. Okay. Good. Glad you're going to schedule a call there. Oh, Tiffany, I put my number in there. Hopefully you got it. Delise is asking a question. What about rent-to-own homes? Okay. You're probably learning. I just say it like it is. I am not a fan of rent-to-own homes. I will tell you 98% of the people on rent-to-owns are not in your best interest. In fact, I would tell you 90% of them are scams. Okay. So a lot of people advertise rent-to-owns. You'll see them out there. Not so much. Facebook's doing a better job policing that. Craigslist still has a fair amount of those things. But what they do is they're predators. Okay. They're going out there and they're preying on people who are basically, more often than not, have a financial hardship. Okay. And they know they can't buy. Maybe their credit isn't in good shape. Maybe they have limited funds, but you know what? I really want to own a home someday. So rent to own sounds better than nothing. So what do? They put you in a rental contract. There's no rent to own unless you can negotiate the contract price up front in writing today. It's not worth anything. More often than not, what happens is, well, here's a perfect example. I had somebody 2 months ago. The gentleman was up in Lapeer. He bought a house, put $20,000 down on a rent to own. 3 years later, he goes to buy the house. He's calling me. He's like, hey, can you help me buy this house on a down payment assistance program? I'm like, yeah, you can. He's like, well, I'm buying it on a rent to own. And I'm like, okay. Well, what happens is the owner comes back and goes, hey, you know what? I want $200,000 for this house. And the guy's like, well, wait a second. When I bought it rent to own, 3 years ago, it was like 150. Where'd the 200 come from? Well, that's what they're selling for in the neighborhood. That was the price back then. You couldn't do it. And well, in the meantime, the buyer's like, well, I put all this money into it. I made all these repairs. And the homeowner's like, well, thank you very much, but it's still $200,000. And the house needed a basement repair that was $20,000. My buyer walked away from it. He said, forget it. And we went out and sold another house using a down payment assistance program. So the other side of it is there are professionals out there that sell their houses on rent to owns, knowing that the rent to own is a way for them to get around the security deposit laws. Most landlords, their state statute is they can't collect more than 1.5 months security deposit for your security deposit. So that being the case, on a land contract, on a rent to own, they can call that an option fee. Okay. So instead of, if you're paying $2,000 a month for rent, instead of collecting a $3,000 security deposit, they could collect $10,000 and call it an option fee. Okay. And then that same scenario could play out again. It's a workaround for the deposit that's basically handcuffed by the state statute of 1.5 times the rent. Okay. That's just my personal opinion, but that's kind of how it rolls a lot of the time. So I'm not a big fan of rent to owns. Like I said, very rarely do they work out. Okay, so you saw my phone number there, 248-252-7283. Brandini, top pick. Change page, got it. Oh, top pick. You know what? This house has sold. So that's why I did not go over my top pick. It was one on Irene and Inkster. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, attached garage. It was a great deal, but we did sell that. So that's why I didn't go over my top pick. Yes, thank you. We'll be calling you very soon. Okay, great, Tiffany. Looking forward to it. Delisa, you are welcome. Thank you so much for the kind words. All right. Any other questions out there this evening? Okay. Like I said, so we covered, hopefully I have eased a lot of your doubts and skepticism, because God knows I have that. I get it. And that you believe that it is a process, but it is possible, okay? That you see the programs out there in the no down payment app. And more importantly, what if you could actually pull this off? What if you never had to move again or rent? So, and I will tell you, hopefully I've addressed things. There was a time I thought a lot of this stuff was too good to be true, but it isn't. These programs are out there. I've got a great database for people to tap into. And I always tell people, imagine at the end when you are opening the door to your own house, maybe not so much for you, because the older I get, I realize it's not about me. It just took me a long time to realize that it really never was about me. It was about my family. Okay. And I think that's what we all strive for, is more of our families. So I had a lady it was a couple of months ago, and gosh, it was just such a profound statement that she said. And because she was renting a 2-bedroom apartment, it was actually, I'll never forget, it was off Joy Road in Greenfield area. And she was only paying like $700 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. And, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, that's a great payment. To find anything that's of any quality, your payment's probably going to go up to about $1,200. And she's like, that's fine. And I'm like, okay, are you sure? Because you're really, got a really affordable rent. She goes, I know, but John, I think you know the area. And I did. Joy Road and Greenfield can be challenging. But she said, it's not about me. It's about my kids. My kids see me work 60 hours a week. I want to show them, as much as she could stay at that apartment forever. I want to show my kids that my hard work is not just going to pay for everything. It's about bettering ourselves. And those comments really struck home, because she had a teenage son and a teenage daughter. And never forget those words. I mean, that was just a powerful statement for me. So never really know what everybody's motivation or why is, for lack of better words. But one thing I do know is that the rental market is such a disheartening shape right now, and what you get for your money is so sad. And unfortunately, there are, and I apologize, there are some good landlords out there, but for the most part, there are some slumlords. Every now and then I'll get a landlord that's on my webinar and takes offense to it. But unfortunately, I think that's the truth of the matter. Oh, I have someone asking, they were afraid of major breakdowns and costing thousands. I mean, that's always, I get that. For the most part, I find that if we do a good enough job vetting the house. Now, Angie, there's two ways to look at this, okay? Now, I think I shared with you, I grew up in an area of Finkel and Losser. It's called Brightmoor, okay? When I go back there, if you grew up in the area or anywhere in Detroit, brick houses stand the test of time. When I go back to those old neighborhoods, there were a lot of frame houses. They're all gone, okay? So what I would recommend, number one, we need to stay with a brick house, okay? Brick houses stand the test of time. Okay, you give me a good 1950s brick house with a good roof and a dry basement and reasonably aged mechanicals, furnace, water heater, things like that. You're not going to see a lot of headaches. Okay, we want to watch the windows. That's one that I tend to, so we want to make sure that it's got some updated windows. Okay. Brandy Dean saying police problems for them, possibly, depending upon the area. I mean, that's, I always tell people, you're not buying the house, you're buying the block. Okay, so as much when we find a house, so a lot of times people will see a great looking house and I'll go, yeah, that's a solid house. Look inside and out. But do me a favor, drive the block. Okay, and if you're that concerned, take it a step further. I want you to drive by the house at 2 or 3 in the morning. That's when you're going to find out what your neighborhood's really like on Friday, Saturday. Okay. So that's just me keeping it real. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Yes. Good input, Brandy. Thank you very much. Any other questions out there? Glad you think so, Angie. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you my phone number one more time tonight. Feel free to give me a shout directly, 248-252-7283, or schedule a call. I'll give you my link to right here. Whoops. Here is the link to my calendar to book a call. And because I always get this later, here is a link to my application. That's the website for my application. Or you just go to the Google Play Store or Apple Store and download it. So, all right. We are past 8 o'clock. I appreciate you all holding on as long as you did. So sorry, I'm a little long-winded this evening. Great questions. Always love answering everybody's questions. Certainly look forward to connecting with everyone. If you have any friends or family, I hope I've earned your confidence enough where you could pass my information along. Love helping everyone get educated on the different grants and programs that are out there and teaching them how to gain home ownership. So you are welcome, Lakeisha. Me too. Love working with like-minded people. I find I get some of the best customers through these webinars. They get to see how I roll. I get to answer their questions, and it's really cool how things evolve. Oh, Angie, very nice. Thank you so much. Yes. Tiffany, thank you too. Okay. Thank you all very much this evening. Hope our paths cross again soon. And you'll get updates for my webinars along the way. So, and after this, you'll get my automated system is going to start texting you to schedule calls. So, so don't feel like you need to do it right away, but We'll pester you about those in the next few days. And then never hesitate to reach out to me. Okay. I like to be that valuable resource for all things real estate. I've been hanging around long enough where there's not too many things that haven't hit my radar. Yes, I can iPhone. My number, 248-252-7283. Lock me into your contacts. I'd be honored. Okay. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your evening. It's been a pleasure. Take care.